joining us, everybody. This is our first podcast, The Reason I Drink. Everybody, cheers.
To you.
All around.
Cheers.
Cheers. Thank you for joining me.
Yep.
To syndication.
We're here and we have some eclectic personalities to talk mostly about the real estate business, but what's going on today, current events. We want to keep it fun. We want to keep it conversational. Hopefully, we provide some laughs, Larry, and we're going to talk to you about real estate. You know, answer some of the questions that we know are on the minds of some real estate investors, some potential homeowners, and everybody else. So we are all real estate professionals, not including Larry, but he has a very, very important place here.
I've been in the house.
Been in the house. So I want to introduce myself. My name is Ron Thomas. I am Captain.Mortgage on Instagram. I am your mortgage professional. If you need some money, come holler at me. That's what I do. I want to first introduce Larry Lancaster. Probably doesn't need an introduction. You can catch him Fox 45 News, local comedian. Go follow him at comedian Larry Lancaster. Larry, talk to the people.
Well, I'm a professional comedian, and due to my extensive knowledge in real estate, Ron thought it fit that I be here today. So that's why I'm here.
Nice. We appreciate you, brother. Trust me when I tell you, we appreciate you. And the dynamic that you bring can't be duplicated. To my right, we have Crystal Housley, a.k.a. House Keys with Housley. She is a prominent and successful real estate investor. I've known her for years and just intelligent and beautiful soul. Crystal, talk to the people for me.
Thank you, Ron. That's so sweet of you. You really don't talk that nice to me in private, so I appreciate that. It's good to know that I'm
Truth
loved.
comes out.
Chris Housley at Chrisito on Instagram. I'm a real estate agent for over 10 years. I fix, I flip, I rehab. I own a property management company. Been doing investing for about 6 years. I also coach real estate investing through Manifest Invest. A litany of things going on, everything from short-term rentals to multi-units to commercial spaces. So you say it, Instagram, find me, let's talk business.
Listen, when I tell you, even though Pooh Shiesty made the term bird popular, Chris Housley was doing the real estate bird, the buy, the rehab, the repeat, RRR. She's been doing it for years. And
Buy, rehab, rent.
Buy,
Right.
rehab, rent, repeat. I can tell you that
Repeat.
she's done that process multiple times, from Baltimore to the sticks and back and everything in between.
Like, I love my state, from the mountains to the ocean.
That's right. No, we don't.
Maryland's
We're not
amazing.
emotional about real estate. Everybody goes where the profit is. Right?
Exactly.
Welcome, Crystal. Thanks for joining us. Ebony Lee, prominent real estate agent, prominent investor, adds a ton of character to this pod, and we appreciate her being here. Ebony, talk to the people for me.
Well, thank you guys for having me. My name is Ebony Lee. I'm a real estate agent with Realty One Group Universal, located in Baltimore. Located in Baltimore, but anywhere in Maryland, guys. With that being said, I would say if you are looking to buy, sell, rent, or invest, count on me. I'll handle the rest.
Okay.
And these days, it's
Ely
so
Homes
important.
on Instagram. Ely Homes.
Ely Homes.
Yes.
E-L-E-E Homes. And these days it's so important to have a professional. You know, you're going to have, prices and rates. You're going to need somebody to navigate you through this market. Trust me when I tell you, I'm in the fight. I'm in the foxhole. Okay, what we're seeing on a daily basis is that if you don't have a professional, not only are you behind the eight ball, but it's going to cost you more in the long run. Okay, not to mention buyer's agent, you don't have to pay them anyway. The seller does. That's just a tidbit, but we'll give you more on that.
Yeah.
My final guest, and one of the reasons why I'm here, Mr. William Bill Dent. I call him Ghost. He's behind the scenes at All Financial Services, the company that he owns and operates, that I happen to be, privy and privileged to be a part of. Bill Dent, talk to the people for me. I know you're behind the scenes, but now it's time for you to be at the forefront. Everybody knows your name, but now it's time for them to put a face and a voice to it. The legendary William Dent.
Oh man. I don't know if I can live up to that, Ron. I appreciate the intro though. But and since I'm an old school guy, I'm gonna have to circle back around to you next podcast. Stay tuned for that Instagram handle. I have no idea.
All financial
There it is. I have no idea what it is.
platforms.
Save me on that one. Save me on that one. You're right. Long term in the game. 35 years experience. I started when I was 2. That's why I look the way I do. But as Ron mentioned, we do it all. At AFS. So small commercial loans up to $20 million, all residential loans, traditional, non-traditional. We have creative solutions for your problems. The dynamic team is there. We're efficient. We streamline the process. Any of your real estate needs from a financing standpoint, come to us. We're gonna get it closed, right? That's what we do. That's what we do. Yeah,
so
man.
listen, we are all encompassing. We've got the real estate game wrapped up. Behind the scenes that you don't know is Sean. Just Google the Drone King, and he's gonna come up on Instagram. Behind the scenes doing all of our production. We appreciate you, brother.
Absolutely.
Can't go without saying that. And Bill, since you're 37 years old,
Yeah, man.
and you
Bring
don't
it.
have an Instagram, we'll talk about that later.
Yeah, bring it. I know it's coming, but that's okay.
So listen, this first episode of the podcast, The Reason I Drink, we're gonna actually handle it like a game of spades, right? So the first hand bends itself. We don't have a whole kind of direction. We're just gonna have a good discourse, a good conversation surrounding some real estate topics. We're gonna talk a little bit about the Cesar Pina DJ Envy scandal and scam, the Ponzi scheme that is affecting and talked about throughout the entire real estate industry. We'll use that as the bulk of our conversation. But in the beginning, we've got our real estate professionals, we've got our mortgage professionals, and then we got Larry, the comedian, to joke about how crazy the rates are. We'll tie him into that. But more importantly,
My turn it to you.
appreciate it. So more importantly, the reason I drink is this real estate industry, and what my clients, what my real estate agent partners, what they want to know more than anything is, especially our prospect clients, are the rates are high. Why do I buy now? So I want to just serve that up really quickly as a quick question, so that we can go around and just talk about it very briefly. But Crystal Housley, Chrisita on IG, okay, why buy now when the rates are crazy?
Because the rental interest rate is 100%. So anything is better than 100% interest rate. For me, whenever I first bought my very first house, interest rates were, I think I paid 6%. Was it 2010, 2012? Obama did me a service by giving me $8,000 back. Thank you. When I bought my first house, and Obama said, "We'll give you $8,000 back." Oh, say less. Mm-hmm. Most of all, when I bought my first house, I was insulted at what the rental rates were. And those same houses that were trying to charge $1,400 then, that I was like, nah, I'm gonna buy a house. I'm not paying $1,400 for rent. They now charge $2,400 in a decade. The rental rate for the units I was looking at, $1,400 to $2,400, and they still own it. The same owners from 12, 13 years ago still own it. So I would say, look for the opportunity to buy. It may not be that standard way of how we've been doing it, but you need to own a home.
So how soon after was this after the 9/11? Because that impacted the housing market a lot too.
This was, I think 9/11 was, I think I was in 10th grade when that happened. Mm-hmm. So I bought my first house after I graduated college, so it's a decade or so.
Okay, so
Yeah.
was it after the crash?
Yes, yeah. So my very first house that I bought, I paid $80,000. Is that you singing or is that me singing?
No, sir. That's
Somebody's singing.
that phone. I'm gonna credit
Sorry, I
to Mr. Larry Lancaster.
I got the worst
And
HD
this-
ever. I'm like, what's that vibrating?
And it's stammers, and I was like, I hope they don't hear it. I hope it's just me. And the shit sound like a lawnmower.
Straight spam.
That leather
How you even put it on vibrate?
Actually, I think that was your mom, because only your mom pushed back to back.
It was scam like
Talk about what you doing.
Does anybody else's mom call them
That's
back to
everybody.
back
That's
for
everybody.
if they don't
That's
answer the
everybody.
first ring,
But
or
I
is
do
it
the
just
same
me?
thing. I do the same thing. When I'm calling my mom and she don't answer, I call her right back till she answers. What else does she
calling
have to
back
do
too.
other than
She
answer my
deserved
calls?
that. Just don't
I
call me
know
back
these
to back,
things
because
about
I'll
my
never
mom.
answer
She
your
knows
call.
it. I'm just calling. I'm gonna call again, and then when she answers, I'm like, "Hey,
That's funny. That's funny.
what you doing besides not answering my phone calls?"
And then she don't want.
What's
I ain't want nothing. I'm just calling to see what you were up to. I ain't want. So you called me twice.
3 times.
That's
For
the
good
mom's
measure.
rate.
But I was saying, so what I was saying, I bought my first house for $80,000. It was when I bought the house, a detached house, 2-bedroom, 1-bath, $80,000. I got $8,000 back. My payment was $700 a month. I had graduated from college. Everyone needed a roommate. I was charging my roommate $700 a month.
Wow.
So I lived basically for the cost of the utilities of the house. I couldn't have done that in a rental, but it's just not, it wasn't a thing. But years later, a decade later, I sold the house for $260,000. Wow. I took a 2-bedroom, 1-bath and turned it into a 4-bedroom, 3-bath and sold it for $260,000.
So when you did that, did you have to add any additions or you just reduced the space?
I
of the
used the
rooms?
exact same footprint, but I bought, it was an old Cape Cod. So I kind of was like a Cape Cod queen for a long time. When I first started getting into flipping, that was really what I was comfortable with. I kind of knew what to expect. You know, they were all GI built, so GI built.
Let me not. The average listener, okay, for your
I was
average
about to say,
listener.
what's the
Talk to
difference
me
between
about
a Cape Cod?
Sorry.
What's a Cape Cod, first of all? We'll leave the
Alright,
GI Bill alone. But
Right.
So when, this is way off topic from the initial question that you asked.
yeah, but
You can splice it, though.
you started
You're
going,
good.
you started going down
But it's,
that
it's,
road.
great, it's great
So-
information.
Yeah.
So
It is.
after World War II, right, all these families were being created. There was this boom, and there was this big push to create the American dream, which was a single family home out in the suburbs with a white picket fence. That was all sold through the GI Bill, which were giving loans for soldiers to have houses built. And it was creating suburbia and creating what would later be known as the American dream. Look at this, you can come in, they put appliances in the house.
So is it a
But the
VA loan
layout-
or the GI Bill? Because from my
The
understanding,
GI
GI Bill was for
The GI Bill
education.
does a bunch of stuff.
Right.
It's
So-
education, it's loans, it's homes, it's business, it's a bunch of stuff falls under the
It's
GI
to set the
Bill.
veterans up after they served
Yeah,
our country.
exactly.
Absolutely.
It's a thank you, if you would.
Yeah.
So all these developers came out, and they were using a lot of tactics like redlining and white plight from leaving the city. And there's a lot of things that go into this that have shaped the landscape for real estate today. But the houses that were being built, for the most part, between like, I'm going to say 1945 to about 1965, a lot of these were brick homes that were single family houses, unfinished basement. You walk on the first floor.
You're gonna edit that one out.
Single family brick homes, first floor, kitchen, living room, dining room, 2 bedrooms, bathroom. The basement was always unfinished, and then there was a stairs to the upstairs that was always unfinished space that allowed an air gap, which at the time was like air conditioning for a house. So they say, "Oh, you can come in. You got this big lot with this big yard and this all brick house, and welcome home. Come start your family." So a lot of these houses, if they haven't been touched to this day, have an unfinished basement and an unfinished upstairs. So whenever I bought the first house, I already knew the upstairs is going to be the owner's suite. So I'm going to have a big master bedroom, bathroom, huge closet, the entire footprint of the house, but it has slanted ceilings.
Right.
Right? And then the basement usually have 8-10 foot ceilings in the basement, depending on what year they were built. So I didn't know all of this then, but when I moved into the house, I saw the vision for the house. And my realtor said, "You sure you want this house? This house old as hell." I said, yeah, let me show you this. And I pulled back the carpet. I was like, it's all hardwood floors in here. I was all excited about it. I was ready to take the lime green carpet out. I couldn't wait. And then bought this house, which net was $72 after I got the $8,000 from Obama. Thank you for that.
Started your career.
Yeah. You don't even want to know what I did with $8,000. I'll tell you what I did with it. I invested it in a weed farm, but I was light years ahead.
Yeah, wow.
Light years ahead.
You were like Nostradamus. with
Yeah.
that.
Man, listen, I try to keep my finger on the pulse, so you know.
So were you able to keep that?
The weed farm?
Yes.
Oh, it made great money for a long time. But then Cali, it was like in the valley in Cali, and they kind of led the charge with trying to legalize it. So then it went from like, if you didn't have like lab grade marijuana, your weed wasn't nothing. And the weird thing is, I didn't even smoke. I just got some people that I trusted. I put some money into the business. And I was like, I mean, the most I could do is 8,000 because thank you, Obama.
And so I think, because I remember this time
Yeah.
when after 9/11, a lot of people weren't buying houses. They weren't buying cars. A lot of the car dealerships went out of business. And a lot of people weren't buying houses because they were afraid to get blown up. So that kind of stopped people from spending. We don't remember that now, but that was the situation
Yeah.
then. So they had to use a lot of incentives to get people to start buying houses and buying cars. They had cash for
Yeah.
clunkers, and then I'm assuming that the $8,000 that you got back was part of that, trying to spur people to get the economy
Yeah.
back on.
Well,
Yeah,
this
that
is
was the
post
key.
2008 too. You have to
Right.
think when the housing market crashed, it was
Oh man.
I mean, it
It
was
was
a
bad.
ripple effect
Right.
across all industries. It really sent the entire country into a recession.
Right. And
it
that-
completely changed the landscape for how real estate was done, like
Right.
the TRID being introduced. And people forget things like the CFPB was introduced. The Consumer Federal Protection Bureau was produced just to help protect people, to keep this from happening again, which was actually led by Elizabeth Warren, who should have been president. But that's a whole other thing.
Right, but that was as a result of them trying to spur the economy.
Yeah.
And they were doing whatever they could to get people to buy houses.
Yeah.
And they didn't have fixed interest rates and all of this kind of stuff. So then when the interest rate went up, people couldn't afford the house. They was abandoning the houses.
Listen, man, people took such a bath in 2008 and 2009 and literally lost everything when the market collapsed. Because what was happening is, you know, houses were appreciating so fast, people were cash out refinancing so fast and running up their debt. And next thing you know, when that bubble bursted, you're paying X amount of dollars for a mortgage, and your house value dropped $150,000, $200,000. So people
Yeah.
are saying, like, listen, I'm not chasing good money behind bad money.
Yep.
This is
They
a total
abandoned.
loss.
Right.
I'm out of here.
Yeah.
So now you've got a ton of houses that are just sitting, and people walking away from these properties. Not only are they walking away, but they're basically squatting in their own property because they're not paying the mortgage until until the sheriff is at their door. Like, all right, now it's time that you got to go. You
Right.
really got to go right
But then
now.
the industry of like the industries that were created because of that too, like the entire short sale, the concept of short sale was not new. It just wasn't used.
Correct.
And then
That's right.
when 2008, 9, 10, 11, 12, short sales was a plea of the bank to say, please, we can't afford to foreclose on any more property. We just can't do it.
And
And
then-
then loan modifications came along. And now it's to the point, like everybody is waiting. And I hear this random chatter where they're like, oh, investors don't buy right now because when the housing market crashes, you're going to pick them up for pennies on the dollar again.
Not true.
No. There's so many systems that are in place right now because of what happened in 2007, 2008, 2009
Right.
through 12 that the banks aren't rushing to foreclose on the house. They don't even want your house. What do you want? They say, well, I can't afford my mortgage because of X, Y, and Z.
Modify.
Well, what can you afford? Well, I can afford $1,200 a month. Here you
Show me
go.
your
Your
pay
mortgage is
stub.
$1,200 a
We'll
month.
modify it.
Congratulations. We're just going to put all this debt on the back end. Congratulations. You have a 130-year mortgage.
So whenever you go to sell, you
They're
can
not
be
foreclosing
yeah.
on nothing
And you
unless
can
they
be-
absolutely have
And you
to.
can be paying on you can be paying on a $200,000 mortgage, but by the time when you're ready to sell, you still have this arrears or this second mortgage because you've modified your loan. You're not paying on it. It's not accruing any interest. But I can tell you, when you go to sell your home and you think your balance is $200, it's actually $280, and you're gonna
Yeah.
have to pay that off
Yeah.
before you go to sell. So they've created these things these vehicles to make sure that they are made whole, and
The
they don't have to
bank
receive
doesn't
100% of the interest that they were going to make. Because they're still making interest.
Yeah.
Everybody knows who's ever bought a house, you sign a document that says, if I hold this loan for 30 years, I'm going to pay at least 2.5x the amount that my house is worth in interest over the long haul. So the banks can
Yeah.
afford to chill. And when you ruin your credit because you haven't made a mortgage payment, now you can't do anything. You can't go
You
anywhere.
can't
right
even
now.
rent a
You
property.
can't even rent a property, so you
Right.
got to
Yeah.
stay there. You got to continue that payment. I want to keep this this discussion going because you brought up so many interesting points about why to buy right now. But Bill, for the person that's sitting on the sideline and says, "I'm just going to buy when the interest rates are lower because I'm going to have a more affordable payment," what do you say to that client? Like, legitimately, that client is talking to you and us every single day. What are you saying to that person?
So look, we've already seen that market, right? So prior to 2022, I mean, we had some of the lowest rates in the history of mortgage-backed securities. And so you had low interest rates, but the competition was massive, right? I mean, I recall one of my clients who went to look at a house in Pennsylvania, and they wound up not being able to see the house because they had to literally stand in a line. I mean, right, there was like 35, 40 couples and or single individuals looking to go in that house. So if you can imagine trying to put in an offer, right, and you're bidding against 20, 25, 30 individuals. I mean, we saw people paying 40, 50, 60, 70 grand above list price, right? So obviously when the market shifts, right, you've got this low interest rate, but where's your equity position at, right? So look, at the end of the day, it's all about finding the right property, right? We're not talking about trying to time the market. That's no different than trying to time stock, right? So the basic concept is make sure you're making the right transaction, which means find the right property for the right deal. And it's always a good time to buy real estate. You just got to make sure you're buying the right thing.
Yeah, my favorite slogan is the best time to buy real estate is yesterday. You bring up some very interesting points that we can dive into, because what it boils down to is supply and demand, right? If you have a ton of people sitting on the sideline waiting for interest rates to drop, what's going to happen is interest rates are going to drop, the demand is going to flood the market, and the inventory or the supply is just not going to be there. And what's going to happen is you're going to end up bidding one price, somebody's going to bid another, and now you're gonna be so tired of looking at houses and going through the road show where you go look at all of these houses and make offers that get turned down, and you start doing a couple things. You end up waiving contingencies which are there to protect you, whether it be your finance contingency, the as-is protection as far as the appraisal is concerned. You're doing whatever it takes in order to get this house because you're exhausted from looking at properties, making offers, and them getting turned down. And what happens is usually you end up buying a house that started at $330. And I can tell you that listing agents are very smart. As good as they are for buyers is as good as they are for their sellers. They're very smart. They're going to list it at a certain price to draw your attention in, knowing that they're going to create a bidding war. Okay, so this $330,000 list is going to shoot up to $380, $390. We've seen this before. And what happens is now you buy this house at $390, you've waived all your contingencies, and you're in this house. Okay, but you know what you can't do? You cannot refinance a house when you're underwater. You can't renegotiate that you owe $390 and this house is worth $330. You can't negotiate that. But the reason why I tell people to buy today and why it's the best decision to buy yesterday is because you can always refinance that 8%, 7.5% mortgage when the rates come down. And if you buy now, you have a much better chance of getting in a house that's actually worth what you're paying for it at a higher rate. Don't get me wrong, but you can renegotiate that rate when the market changes. But what you can't do is renegotiate the house price once you buy it at $390. Because I can tell you this about real estate, okay? Whatever a property is worth is not the ticket price. It's what somebody's willing to pay for it. That's real estate for you.
That's anything.
You know, I mean, that's anything. But what I see it mostly, because this is what I do, is that's real estate. And I've seen some people pay some astronomical prices because they become emotionally invested in the process. I got to win this bid. So I'm willing to do what it takes.
People do it all the time.
FOMO.
Right?
So basically, it's like a catch-22. So if the interest rate is low, that's fine for I guess a buyer, but then it creates more of a competition, the supply and demand
That's
aspect of
100%.
it. And then when the interest rate is high, you kind of eliminate more of the competition, and it makes it easier.
Exactly.
Okay.
But you got to settle for a slightly higher payer. And when I say slightly higher payment, it's all relative, right? Because interest rates are in the high 7s today. Some of them are in the 8s. We saw that last week, right? The interest rates hit a rate that we haven't seen since 2000, 2001. That's legitimate. Okay, even in 2006, 2007, before the crash, rates were in the high 6s, low 7s as far as prime is concerned, right? So when we look at these rates in our head, we look at 2019, 2020, 2021, and we say they were at 3.5%, 2.5%.
Right.
I'm not going to 7.5%.
Right.
Right? I've seen this down at 2 something, but what they don't realize is that's not coming back. Number one, we all feel as professionals that the rates were artificially decreased and held at a certain level, regardless of who's in administration. All of these things never made sense to your professional. Now we're sitting over here on this side, and there's a ton of demand. Interest rates are low. Everybody's buying. You think we are worried about why? We're not really worried about why they're happening. But what we can tell you is that the last 2 years, we have seen that real estate is 8 years good, 2.5, 3 years bad. It's cyclical. It just goes like that. You've seen if you just do any kind of research, you'll see every 10 to 12 year period, there's a correction of the market, right? For lack of a better word. That just means correction, meaning get all of the people that think they're professionals out of the market, because you're not going to make any at this point, and we're going to keep the real professionals here. And then secondly, the market needs to correct itself because the rates were artificially frozen, boost the economy, GDP, all the things that you can actually think of. But, just getting into how these things work out, you got to pick your poison. Unfortunately, it's not the best time if you look at 2 years ago, 3 years ago, right? It's not as good as it was then. But we're not going back there. So we've got to digest that concept that we're not going back there. And we got to realize that smart money's buying now, okay? Not scared of the interest rate. If you know about scare tactics, high interest rate is a scare tactic because people are going to follow people. And when most people are on the sideline, everybody else likes to go on the
that's why they
sideline.
raised it, because they said it was,
But big money, what I'm telling you what big money is doing, big money is gobbling up everything that they can. And I'll just give you a small microcosm, and I'll pass it to Ebony, is foreign money is in Baltimore City.
Oh, yeah.
Foreign money is heavy in Baltimore City. You got people coming from California, Arizona, just to come to Baltimore City because interest rates are high, and they know the demographic of Baltimore City, and they know we're on the sideline because we're scared.
They can buy cheap.
They can buy cheap.
They can buy cheap.
Yeah, I know a lady, she lives in D.C., and she told me, she was a comedian, and she said she was here looking at houses with her investment group because, it's a lot cheaper than in D.C. What about international? Like Chinese conglomerates and all of that kind of stuff. Just buying properties and just sitting on them.
Property in Baltimore is so affordable that international clientele never puts boots on the ground. They hire somebody online that they know, they've done a little research that they can trust, and they say, go out and find me a property. And then Chris will say, well, what's my budget? And they say, what are you talking about? Find me as much as you can, as quickly as you can before the rates go down and demand picks up.
Investing specifically, Baltimore is very popular because we have really great cap rates, which just means that you can buy cheap and charge a lot for rent.
That's right.
And although the property taxes are pretty high, that's like one of the downfalls of investing in Baltimore City. Like nationally, it's high in general, but for the state, it's the highest it is in the state for the city versus like if you invest in any other county in the state. But there's a lot of money because any investor will chase a cap rate. And if you can show that you're getting anything better than 8, if you can, hey, here's where I'm getting 11.
So when you say a cap rate, what does that actually mean?
The cap rate is like the money invested versus the money you're going to make.
Your
on
margins.
It.
Correct. Yep.
So
all about your ROI, your return on investment.
Speaking, like if you're going to invest in the stock market, they say the stock market over a 5-year, 10-year trend, you can expect to see a 6 to 8% return, which recently it's been higher than that because it's been a bit of a static market, right? But with all that being said, they said, well, what are other things you can invest in? Real estate, if the rule of thumb is 8%. If you can get higher than 8% cap rate, then it's considered a good investment.
Ebony, tell me a little bit I don't mean to cut you off, but if you gotta segue right into this.
Yeah, I would just say to me, I think a lot of times people focus on the interest rates, and sometimes they don't even understand the interest rates. They just hear it and they're like, wait a minute, I just hear the interest rates are high, so maybe I shouldn't buy at this time. But I always try to talk to people about what can you afford? And then believe it or not, some of these people, like I know someone, for instance, they were paying like $2,800 for rent. This is including they have to pay to like park in the garage at their place. Of course, they have all of these amenities and all these different things, but they actually want to purchase a home. But I heard that the interest rates are high right now, so I should not purchase a house. But it's like you can afford it.
Yeah.
You can afford it. Not necessarily focusing on what the interest rate is and not marrying the interest rate, as we always say.
Yeah.
You're going to marry the house. You're just going to date that interest rate for a little bit.
Date the
Go
rate.
ahead, refinance that house and, you know, get it going. I just think sometimes people focus too much on that.
So I know you deal with buyers and they're constantly complaining about this or that. Okay, what are some of your strategies? What are you talking to them about to ease, you know, some of their concerns as far as this high interest rate market? And obviously you're talking about some of the things we're explaining today. But if you're in the fight like you are every day and you're dealing with a lot of buyers, I know this. What are some of the things that you're saying to them that are real that put them at ease as far as buying?
I think sometimes once people understand equity and kind of what that is, and like when you build equity in the home, they kind of sometimes feel at ease, because when you're paying rent at 100%, like we said, you're not gaining anything back from that. You're just adding to someone else's margin. It's doing nothing for you.
Right.
So I think once people kind of understand that, then they kind of understand, okay, maybe I should go ahead and buy.
Yeah.
And then when they just see rent is going up, your amenities aren't changing. Nothing's changing. You're living in the same spot. Yeah, you love it. It has all of these great things, but kind of what has changed over the time that you've lived there? Sometimes the management has changed. That's not so great. And, you know, just talking to different people and having conversations about different things. And I think sometimes they feel like, okay, maybe I should go ahead and invest in, you know, myself, my family, you know.
Your future.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
what are some of the things? Because I'm basically representing the person who's not an expert like you guys. So when I ask a question, it's basically to speak to them.
Yep.
So what are some of the things that would stop someone from actually buying a house and actually paying $2,800 in rent? Obviously, there must be some factors.
I would say a lot of times people are concerned to know what their status is when it comes to purchasing a home. So instead of kind of speaking to a professional and just saying, you know, what is my credit score right now? Kind of where am I? What is it that I need to do to kind of get where it is that I need to be? A lot of times people just kind of don't want to know where they are, believe it or not.
Yeah.
They may have been renting for an extended period of time. Over that time, the credit score may have dropped. You know, life is life, and like we always say. So instead of kind of just figuring out where they stand and speaking with someone, they just kind of, they don't want to. And then sometimes they'll say, well, my cousin repairs credit, so I'm going to go, and they just told me to do this and do that and do the other. And it's like, wait a minute. Don't do it. Talk with a professional first. See if there's something that would even affect you being able to purchase a home before you start dishing out money. And then you kind of go from there. And a lot of times people don't do that.
It's kind of like why people don't go to the hospital. They're just
They
afraid
just
of the
don't
bad
wanna
news,
know.
and they assume the worst, so they just don't even want to know.
That is an
Yeah, it's a
amazing analogy.
misconception.
That is an amazing analogy. Bill, you deal with home buyers all the time and real estate agents and their professionals. For most people that don't know, whenever you call your real estate agent because you want to buy a home, let me just tell you that the first person they call is us in order to get you pre-approved. There's not a real estate agent that I know or respect that will take you out house shopping without talking to a lender for financing, unless you show proof of funds for cash. And I know all of you got $300,000 in the bank, so forgive me. Talking, but there's not a real estate professional that is respectable that will take you shopping for a house without talking to a lending professional. So I can tell you that the first call that is made, if the real estate agent is smart, is to All Financial Services so they can talk to Bill and I.
That's right.
But
That's so you don't waste the time.
nobody wants their time wasted, and we're not gonna shoot you down right away. When you come and you talk to a lending professional, like we are at All Financial Services, what you're gonna find is you're gonna leave with a pre-approval letter and the knowledge as far as what your payment's gonna be, how much you need for closing, what your interest rate's gonna be, and what kind of expectations you should be ready to encounter. Or you're gonna leave with a roadmap / an action plan to how to get approved. What you need to do to work on your credit. Not everybody, or should I say most people don't come ready turnkey right away. There needs just a little bit of tweaking, some more than others. But the idea is you got to get started, you got to understand what it is, because just like anything else, it's not as hard as you think it is. It's never going to be as bad as you think it is. And Bill and I have seen some of the worst credit. The lowest credit score is 350, the highest is 850 at the end of the day, but we've seen some of the lowest of credit, and we've seen those people become successful if they're invested in what we ask them to do over a short period of time. And if you can create those habits over 3 to 6 months, then we're confident lending, knowing that you're going to keep those habits that got you in the house.
So you mean to tell me you guys could take someone with a 350 credit score?
I've never seen that in life. If you got a 350 credit score, you are an alien and an icon, because I want to meet you.
So that was my next question, bro. Since you threw the number out there, I had to kind of challenge you, bro. I was about to say, you mean to tell me you can take somebody with a 350 credit score and in 3 to 6 months they're ready, I'm
going to go with 500 in 3 to 6 months, okay, because I've seen it.
480.
Yeah.
We 480.
He's seen 480.
Ken and Will.
Ken and
Now,
Will.
not Ken. We do.
So when I bought my house, the guy told me, he said that there are certain things that even if you're ready and you're eligible to buy a house, there are certain things that you could do past that point to make you ineligible.
Yeah,
he said,
buy a car in the middle of the process.
Go buy all the furniture in the house.
I don't think people want to sabotage themselves. So can you tell the people, like, what are some of the things that you should abstain from that can hurt your chances?
That's an amazing question, Bill.
Spending all of your money. We've got a client right now who came to us with $57,000 in the bank. He only needed 20 to close. He went out to Dubai, right, and spent about $42,000.
What?
Yeah, right. And listen, that was just when he was out of town, right? The rest of the money got spent on bills. He's sitting with about $8,000 or $9,000 right now.
Mad at you.
You know, right. Upset as hell.
Yeah.
Right. And the 20 he needed is down to, we got it down to 13, 14, but he's still short.
Wow.
He's still short. Right. So
did he not know this?
This is not an
no. He absolutely knew. Who knows what the hell he was thinking, right? But just kind of piggyback off of what Ron was talking about. Don't go out and buy a car during the middle of the process, right? Don't go out and charge up your credit cards. Don't spend all of the money that you have for your out-of-pocket expense at the table. Don't blow that money. There's so many things that you can do to sabotage yourself, and right during the process, even after you've been pre-approved, right? So what you need to do is to make sure that you're communicating, right? Every single financial move that you're looking to make, you communicate with your mortgage professional, communicate with your real estate professional, and they'll let you know exactly what the do's and don'ts are. We actually have a list.
I have
right,
a
of
10
do's
commandments.
And don'ts.
10 commandments.
We got do's and don'ts.
Everybody gets this because everybody has had that guy.
Absolutely.
Right?
And I was about to say,
Had
this
that
sounds
guy.
like
'Cause
someone
sometimes
who didn't earn the money. It's like he just fell into it, or
Well,
maybe
regardless
someone
of the
left
money
it.
was there and
you
then the money
had it
wasn't.
to make that purchase.
But
Surprise.
and it's not just the cash. Don't change jobs.
Yes.
Don't make money appear out of thin air. You can't take the money that was under your mattress and put it in your bank
Right,
account.
right,
You
right.
can't just get money from wherever. You can't run up debt. You can't go buy a new car. Like, you can't. There's so much stuff. The best buyer is the person who stays
Right.
consistent.
You just sit still and you let the process
It has
happen.
to stay
In this
consistent.
30-day process, you should do absolutely nothing. Before you send some money on Cash App, make a phone call so I can consult you the right way. Before you co-sign for your cousin,
Yep.
make a phone call. Before you listen to the advice of your cousin or sister or mother who bought 3 months ago or 3 years ago,
Or 30 years ago.
call me, because that's not good advice.
How about this? You go to check out at TJ Maxx and they say, hey, do you know you can save 20% if you sign up for a TJ Maxx card
Don't do
today?
it.
Yeah.
They
Don't
run
do
your
it.
credit. You just dropped your credit 13 points,
Yeah.
which puts you in a different buying
Right.
And let me
position.
speak from a lending position, is that there is nothing you can do that's going to get away with. There's nothing that you're going to circumvent that hasn't already been done.
Yeah.
And every time somebody comes up with what they can do to breach a loophole, right?
Yeah.
They want to breach the loophole. Oh, I got a great idea. I can do this, right? For example,
think they
I'm going to
reinvented the
apply
wheel.
with 4 different mortgage companies on the same day, so my credit doesn't show that I've applied elsewhere, and I'm going to use the same income to buy 4 different houses. It's already been done. So guess what? There's protection against it.
Right.
There are systems that are run. There are credit checks that are done at the final minute. The lender is going to call your employer the day before closing to make sure you still have a job. There is nothing, and I mean nothing, that you can do to get around this process. We're gonna know everything at the end of the day. The reason why I'm saying that is because there's 3 people in this world you can't lie to. Your doctor, your lawyer, and your mortgage professional. Because we're gonna protect you. And we're gonna show you how to get to closing. I can tell you that I'm never gonna lie, cheat, or steal, but I am incentivized to get you to closing. Because if you don't close, I don't make $1. Let's just keep it real, right? If you don't close, I don't make $1. So I'm never gonna cross over that line, but I'm gonna toe it, and I'm gonna do everything we can to get you to closing. And that's just real talk. And every mortgage professional that sits where I sit, if they don't say it, they're gonna do the same exact thing, okay? But there's nothing that you can do that hasn't been done. It's all gonna get caught. So if you think you're getting by because you had a bankruptcy 6 years ago or a foreclosure 6 years ago and you don't wanna tell me about it because you think if you don't tell me it's gonna get through, no, we're all gonna waste each other's time together, okay? You're gonna waste about 60 days, 30 days to find the property, 29 days to go through the process of closing, and on day 30, I'm gonna get a phone call saying this deal is denied because this person had a foreclosure. And should I have known that? Only if you tell me.
Right.
Because the bankruptcy laws this day say you can't put that on your credit report if you file bankruptcy. It's no longer an obligated debt. So there's things that I won't know until our back end
But it
figures it
still
out.
is gonna
It's
impact.
gonna
It'll
come
still
out.
impact.
So you gotta tell me everything. Everything. And then I'm gonna consult you, or we're ready to go now, or we're not. Furthermore, you're gonna have me looking crazy to our real estate partners because they think I'm supposed to know these things, or they think that I
Yeah, they
didn't
gonna feel like
get
you
the
didn't
right
do your due
information, or I
diligence.
didn't ask the right questions, when really you're sabotaging everybody's time and energy trying to hide something. You can't hide nothing.
So once
these
you have this type of knowledge, do you ask the person these questions and kind of put them in a position where they have to lie to you?
We ask them all the right questions. The application asks them all
Absolutely.
the right questions.
Absolutely.
They, in order to fill out an application, they have to certify they're telling the truth. It's almost like you're under oath on an application.
Yeah,
Majority of the stuff we're dealing with is government type program. Fannie Mae, government. Freddie Mac, government.
You're gonna
FHA.
sign 57 affidavits
Government.
that says, "I promise I didn't lie
Yeah.
on any of this
So all,
application."
all
you know
of
what,
these
once it
things
gets to a
are
certain point, people
things
just
that
feel
there
like
are
they got
checks
away
and
with it.
balances on, and we're gonna find out. But let me find out day one so I can tell you, let's not go under contract today. Let's figure this out and work on it, and you'll be ready to buy here. As opposed to, we go through this 59-day process. We're supposed to close on day 60, and now the underwriter has done his final checks and balances, because that's what they do. They don't do it on day 45. There's no reason to. This person might quit on day 59, and now they're approving somebody that don't have a job. That person can't pay this loan back, so they're never going to do it. When you think about mortgages and lending in real estate, I want you to think that somebody is literally taking $300K out of their pocket in cash, and I'm investing in you to buy this house. I
In
want you to think
belief
about it
that
like
you're
that.
gonna pay me back.
We see numbers. We see numbers running across. So it's not real to us, right? It's not real. But if you just visualize somebody taking $300K, $400K, $500K out of their pocket to invest in you, and you've got about 3 to 5% invested in that, I've got the lion's share of the risk. You got to think about it like that. So if I've got the lion's share of the risk, guess what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna check every single box there is to check to make sure I'm making a good investment, which kind of leads me directly into one of the topics of discussion, something that's hot on the news right now. There's a Ponzi scheme going on right now. There's a scandal. This is current events. DJ Envy of the Breakfast Club in New York City that partners with Charlemagne. He has a partner, and they have this Ponzi scheme that they're being indicted on.
Allegedly.
Everything's alleged.
Everything is alleged. Proclaimed.
Allegedly.
Innocent.
Allegedly, right? The guilty until proven innocent. I mean, sorry. Innocent until proven guilty. But you know how social media is. It's the opposite. You're guilty until you're proven
It's
innocent.
a court of
The
public
court
opinion.
of
And I can tell you
Wow.
this, right? It's a Ponzi scheme. Right now, the numbers that are going out are like $40+ million that are being invested into a into property that's never coming back. So there's $40 million of deposits from all different kind of people that haven't gotten a return on that, with the expectation that that $40 million in total would earn probably 30% return, right? And the reason why this is an interesting segue is because I left the last topic with due diligence. That lender is going to gauge the risk. They're going to figure out who they're dealing with. They're going to make sure that when we give you this $400 or $500 out of my pocket, that I've done my due diligence and you're capable of paying it back, right? Because at the end of the day, lending real estate has nothing to do with anything else but credit, income, asset. That's it. When it all boils down to it, I don't care who you are, I don't care what the mortgage program, it boils down to credit, income, and assets. And this person this lender, this entity needs to check that credit, income, and asset to make sure I'm making a good investment. So how we segue into this Ponzi scheme is the folks that donated, in my opinion, because it's a donation at this point, right? If you invest several...
I'm sure they would disagree, Ron.
Listen,
that's a good way of putting it.
We'll see at the end that this is
shall
going to be
see.
a donation.
Right.
These people are going to get a participation award because they're going to win the case, but they're not going to get $1 back.
Wow.
And that money's gone.
Wow.
Okay, that money is gone. Ask Bernie Madoff, that money's gone.
Wow.
Right? So this is a similar Ponzi scheme. And where the responsibility for me, and I'm not victim shaming here, believe me when I tell you, okay? But the responsibility, because I got to put myself in their shoes, is am I giving somebody $200,000, $250,000 without betting this person? Not to mention, and I'll leave it at this is an ex-criminal that went to jail for X amount of years for scamming. So
Credit card
is
scamming.
there any, and I'll start with you, Larry, is there any onus or responsibility, you know, where these people gave their money without doing due diligence? And we're talking $40 million in total.
Yeah, I say there is a responsibility on the people who gave the money, but that doesn't absolve the people who set them
running
up.
this.
Not at all, but we're not
Right.
here if they do their due diligence, right or wrong,
I don't know.
I can't say that.
right?
The main piece of this puzzle, really, is DJ Envy.
Okay. And as a radio personality, Larry, tell me a little bit about his obligation, and then maybe responsibility, or even the platform that he's on, or social media, right? What kind of, tell me a little bit, because you're a radio personality, you've got extensive experience, you know, talking to people, using your platform, promoting things and such. So if you promote this guy on your platform, are you not responsibility? You brought in an excellent point that everything revolves around him here.
Yeah, well, the reason I say that is because without him, they don't know this guy from cheese, right? And so the thing about fame and popularity and celebrity, especially when it's something that media, because you see these people every day.
Yeah.
So you feel like
Right.
you know these people, you trust these people.
They're
You
credible.
right, it's a credibility
Yeah.
aspect of it. And
Yeah.
of course, that was used.
Yeah.
So it's not like he just said, okay, I'm going to invest because I'm a man. No, you sold this. The guy didn't do it. He sold it to you. He came to you so he could use your celebrity platform to get the other people to invest.
And let's
so,
just throw some quick stats out there. I don't mean to, but 2.2 million followers on social media. That's huge, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And the 38th ranked podcast in the nation. I mean, 38. And we know how many podcasts there are out
They're
there.
Right.
popping up every day.
They're popping up every
Right.
day. You know, probably
Yeah,
number
right
one,
now.
Joe Rogan. And when you go down the slide, we're talking about 38 in the nation.
What's the
That
name of
mean-
Envy's podcast?
Huh?
Envy's podcast?
The Breakfast Club. The Breakfast Club.
but it's also a radio
Okay.
show. It's not
Yeah.
just a podcast.
Yeah.
Not only,
not-
and
yeah,
I
it's
didn't
not-
even get
it's
to
not a
that.
podcast.
So
It's
you
a
get
radio
the
show.
Reach.
conventional aspect of it and also the podcast aspect of it. And people know you.
Right.
And that's basically why they signed up.
Yeah.
So the bulk of the responsibility, even if he's a victim, you didn't vet properly. And so that's the responsibility that you have as a celebrity, is that people will follow you without even doing their due diligence. Now, I'm not saying that's his fault,
Yeah.
but the fact that you use your celebrity to get people on board, you have to bite some of that.
Yeah.
And from what I've seen, I don't really think, and I hate to Monday morning quarterback him, but I just don't think he's not really doing following the protocol. First thing you should do is apologize. And you should also take the responsibility, like, look, guys, I know a lot of you people wouldn't have done this if it wasn't for the fact that I co-signed.
He can't do that.
But let
It's
me
a
tell,
term.
and I get the
You absolutely
legal,
can't
I get the
do that.
legal
It's
aspect of
attorneys,
it.
Yeah,
But-
absolutely should.
Tell me
Envy
why he
should
can't do that.
absolutely not do that.
And why you say that?
Because then he could end up holding the responsibility and liability for 100% of everything that's happened. And I'm not
But you don't
talking
think
just-
he's not going to do that anyway?
No, he's not even named in half of the lawsuits. So right now, I think as of this morning, it was 21 lawsuits, and he's named in like 9. There's 9 of the 21 suing that said, I did this because Envy told me to.
Right.
Only half of them. So I think that the devil's always in the details, right? So looking at the details of all the individual lawsuits, who's selling for what, et cetera, et cetera. Envy got on his platform and said, I have a business partner in real estate who's introduced me to real estate.
That's a
And
fact.
I've made money
That's a fact.
in partnering with Caesar in real estate. And we're trying to open this up so I'm not the only one, and he's not the only one. We want to open this up to the public. I encourage all of you to do your diligence, come learn, out to our events, come to our seminars, sign up for whatever shit he was peddling at the time, and who knows whatever it is. He never took anyone's money. He's not on any of the documents for the LLCs for where everyone wired money. In fact, he and his lawyer have come out and said, we too are victims.
Right.
We've invested our own money. But the thing is, if you listen to the interviews, he was very forthcoming. He was like, I know Caesar, he's in real estate. I've partnered with Caesar to also get in real estate. He learned how to do real estate in prison. While he was in prison, he was taught how to buy real estate with other people's money
But listen,
to help uplift everybody.
You and I hear that, but your
Right.
average person doesn't hear that, right, Ebony?
Yeah.
They don't hear that.
And
What do they
here's-
hear?
I mean-
They hear the
Here's
following.
the other piece to that. It's kind of like when you're on trial and your lawyer advises you not to take the stand, right?
And you
that
don't-
might be great legal advice.
Yes.
But
The people
to the
hold
12
court.
people who are judging you, they
Yeah.
see that as guilt.
Oh, well-
and sometimes you do yourself a disservice, even listening to the expert. Sometimes you got to follow your instinct and do what is morally right. So the more aspect to this is, I use my platform, as you said,
promote
even
Caesar.
though I said, it's just like a warning label on the cigarettes. You still have culpability, even though you tell people, you know they're not going to read it. Some people may not understand it.
Yeah.
The bottom line is, we did this shit because you did it. The best thing I think he can do is say, listen, guys, I got scammed too.
He did.
I apologize for
He
that.
I
did.
agree.
Right? But when I saw him, he had a certain degree of arrogance
Yeah,
to me.
I agree.
He was like, I don't know why they coming at me. I'm a
I mean,
victim.
that's-
You gotta let that
But that's
down
like,
at
as
this
somebody
point.
who I'm an adamant listener of the Breakfast Club.
Right.
And Envy's beige rage is all the time. He just is a very intense
Right.
individual as it is.
Right.
And he said, I'm not supposed to talk about it, but I'm going to talk about it anyway. I was part of this. I partnered with him. I thought this.
I never took
I
no
told
money, though.
everyone.
Right. That's what-
I
And that
have
would be
never taken
fine if it
anyone's
was
money.
just him. The point is, you got other people to sign up.
Yeah.
That's the
I mean,
problem.
he was hosting
and here's what
tons
the
of
government's
events
going
and
to do. They're going to squeeze him.
Yep. You're going to be a witness.
They're going
or
to
a
squeeze him.
suspect.
It's just like if you
Oh,
and I
absolutely.
go out, right, and you're the most famous person when we go out. If I brandish a firearm, guess who they're going to come after?
Yeah.
The most popular person. They're going to say,
absolutely.
Chris Brown started a fight in the club. They're not going to say members of his entourage did
Yep.
it.
Yeah,
And that's
it
the
was
problem
him.
with when you're the most recognizable person.
So then, are you saying if Chris, in your hypothetical example, Chris Brown's entourage started fighting, should Chris Brown come out and apologize,
Yes.
even if he didn't throw any punches?
Because he had
Absolutely.
vicarious liability.
Everyone knows him.
Yeah.
He has
Yeah.
vicarious
Everybody knows
liability.
him. Yeah.
You're responsible
As
for
a
the people
public
that you
figure.
have around
As a
you.
public figure.
And so they're not that. These people wouldn't get in the goddamn club if they're not with you. So you have to do your due diligence and monitor who you associate yourself with. And it's a very large ask, but
Yep.
it's something that you got to do
Yeah.
because the celebrity has so much weight and it has so much privileges to it. And along with privilege comes responsibility.
Now, we've
So
all
dope.
been in that situation too, right? I mean, but look, at the end of the day, Ron and I deal with clients, and this is lower level in comparison to what we're talking about, right? But if we deal with a client, and in order to do that transaction, that client needs to have some work done on the house, right? We recommend a contractor.
Right.
They go out, right? They scam the client.
Yeah.
Okay. At the end of the day,
Awesome.
obviously
They're
we
coming
had
back to you.
of course,
Yeah.
right? Because they relied on our recommendation,
Right.
right, to take on that contract, and then we weren't obligated to do the work. They didn't sign a contract with us. We're not making any money off of the transaction, right? But the point is that, and to your point, right? They took our recommendation. We're the professional. We're the trusted source. They did business with this contractor. They lost their money. At the absolute very least, I've got to come out and say, hey, listen, I don't know what happened. I've never had dealings with that person like that before, right?
Yeah.
Because it's not going to change the material facts. So I understand exactly where you were coming from, Chris, with the from a legal standpoint, right? But nothing about DJ Envy coming out and apologizing is going to change the material facts involved, right? He either did something wrong or he didn't, right?
Well,
Talk
but
to DJ
sometimes
Envy,
he
bro,
can
real
do
quick.
that.
I'm sorry, Chris. Talk to DJ Envy real quick, right? What should he do, right? Because I have my own opinion, but
I don't
what
think
should he
he
do?
did
Now, let me
any
set the
due
table really quick, right? So this guy has clearly made some money with this alleged scammer, right?
Sure.
Who's been picked up by the feds. He's clearly made some money there, right? He's used his platform that we spoke about how big it is to promote this person, right? So you do all that on the positive side. Now, you still have the same platform. You have not yet condemned this person out loud. You've tried to distance yourself from it, but now there's feds involved.
He did condemn him.
Huh?
He did.
No. He hasn't. It's not on repeat where he's saying this guy's the worst
it's
at
just
the end
not
of the
a
day.
hot take, but he has.
But this is what I'm saying. That's not the sound bites you hear, right? The sound bites that you see are him all together in front of this property, in front of that property, talking about this. He's on the Breakfast Club. He's promoting on his platform. I'm just telling you what the sound bites are because I'm just your regular guy, and that's what I'm looking at. So I'm asking you, Bill, if you're DJ Envy, what do you do now? You're just a radio personality.
Look in the camera and tell DJ Envy.
Tell DJ Envy.
Tell DJ Envy what he should
What do
do.
you do right now?
Look at which one's his camera? Which one's his camera?
Yeah, right there.
Tell him.
This is my camera.
DJ Envy.
DJ Envy.
Listen up, kid.
Right.
Listen up.
DJ Envy, take your advice right from Larry Lancaster. Right?
He threw it back to me.
I had to throw it back on him.
No,
right?
it's
Right.
the same.
Step up and be responsible, man. Have some
so I feel like you
responsibility.
should have the same energy that you promoted and got
Absolutely.
people on board as the same energy when the shit fall apart.
That shit
And
sound-
use
I
that
know
and
it's
use that
difficult
same
to do
platform,
that.
right?
And doing the right thing is
Shut
never
your
easy.
mouth. Don't go on no more platforms.
Yeah,
Don't talk about
Wait.
this no more. Zip it. The more you talk, the more will be used against you. And he's already made that mistake several times.
Yeah, I think
Tony
Sean
the
may try to
Closer,
tell me
who's the
to be quiet.
whistleblower on this whole thing.
Yeah.
He's an Instagram influencer, Ronan Proof, whatever
Yep.
the case may be.
Familiar.
He's the main whistleblower. DJ Envy had the nerve to get on live with him and
Yes,
take
I-
all the bait.
Right.
He took
Oh,
yeah.
all the bait
Yeah.
and then got into a emotional conversation back and forth.
I
with
missed
it.
that one.
And that's where he really
But
went
see,
wrong.
that's the ego.
That's
That's
the
what
ego.
I'm
We
saying
would've
is
turned
show
it.
some humility.
Lose
I'm
the
not even
ego
saying
and shut your mouth.
necessarily
Right.
go against your lawyer's advice, but show some humility.
Right.
So
I
show
agree.
remorse. And
I
I
agree.
haven't seen that.
I haven't seen that
I
either.
think that you
Yeah.
need to have a written statement contracted and
It's time
And
to
that's
hire
reaching
a
out loud
publicist.
every
It's
time.
time to
Yeah.
hire
Right.
the best
He can't
attorney in the
freestyle.
world.
The right
Yeah,
attorney.
where's my
Yeah.
camera? Where's
It's
my
no
camera?
You can't freestyle.
Look into the camera, Chrissy.
Envy, listen to me. Shut up.
Shut the F up.
So the only person you should be talking to is your attorney.
This should be a
And then
representative
the only
speaking
thing
on
you
your
should be
behalf.
saying on live out loud to the public is whatever your high paid attorney scribed to you.
Other than
That's
welcome
it.
to the Breakfast Club. My name is DJ. That's
That's
the
it.
only thing.
So
you should
do
say.
you guys think he can recover from this?
Absolutely
Oh,
not. He's
he
canceled.
absolutely can.
He's canceled.
I've seen people come back from so much stuff. Do you know what some of these celebrities have
He
been
might
But
into?
this is
write
my
a book.
thing, though. What
He
is he?
might write
What
a
is
book
he
now,
good at?
and people might
Right?
buy that.
Just
Going
think
to
about
from
it.
jail.
What is
He's
his
going to write a
talent?
memoir from jail
He's not
about
gonna do
that.
how he's worked hard and
Oh, you don't think
sacrificed his
so?
This
whole
is a white
life.
collar crime. He's got a lot of money. He's not going to jail. But I
I
can
don't
tell
think
you.
he has as much
No,
money as
I'm not saying he's
not
going to
going
be
to jail.
ruined or flat broke. What I'm saying is, do you think the public will still tune in
Let's make a
and
prediction.
still listen to the show.
People
with
love
him.
Absolutely,
drama,
but
so
I-
they
This
definitely
is the
going to
thing.
tune in.
He will
Yeah,
not
love it.
because Radio 1
Is not going to
gonna
let
allow
people bring
this.
anyone in anymore.
It's not going to happen
So
anymore.
like
They're going to
him
slowly
doing you a favor because he's friends with you, where you can come on,
Yeah.
like Charlemagne letting Andrew Schultz come on and whatever.
They're gonna
Like that,
segue out
all
of it.
that's dead.
But do you think that
All
they
that's
wait
dead.
for the outcome before they distance
No,
themselves?
they've already
No, they
started
already
distancing
have.
themselves because he was on the Breakfast Club on Zoom. First of all, the last couple of times he's been on Zoom, right? Because I've been paying attention. I knew this was
And
going
why
to be
was
a
he on
topic
Zoom?
because Radio 1 is slowly but surely distancing themselves from him.
It's because Radio 1 was raided by the feds.
Right.
Well, I don't know.
But that's
they're
what I
like-
meant about the
But they
squeeze,
did.
though.
Yeah.
They could.
And
the
they did
feds
that
came
on
in,
purpose.
did a
Yeah,
They
search.
could have
yeah.
picked them
Took a
up
few
somewhere
things.
else.
Oh, yeah.
So they said,
Okay.
we're going to make a public spectacle. Because these people,
They just don't want Envy being arrested at their
right.
offices.
They
So
deal with the
if they're-
mafia,
if they're
so
gonna
they know
arrest
how to
Envy,
embarrass
they're
him.
gonna go to his house.
Exactly.
He's just a
Exactly.
radio
They're
personality.
gonna
He
go get him
is
arrested in
He's
front of his family
replaceable.
and friends.
First
not
of
in
all,
front of
he's
all his employees.
replaceable, and he's number 2 on that podcast. Charlemagne is the draw. Let's just
Right.
be honest. That's
Right.
why he went and got him
On the show.
because Charlemagne's the controversial figure, willing to say whatever he wants.
Right.
Envy just had a good idea. He brought some people together, and he
And
said,
they could
"Listen."
plug
Exactly.
someone else
So you
into
can
Well,
put
it.
Angela-
anybody in there. Because my question is this: his name is DJ Envy, but I haven't seen him behind any DJ equipment in a
Turntables.
long
No,
time.
he-
First of all,
history is
and no, history, right? That's like saying, like Ron G or DJ Clue. Like this is a long time ago. So what he did was
I think
he
DJ Clue could replace Envy.
he can, but it's gonna
On the
be.
show.
But that's what I'm saying. He's so not valuable to that platform where he can slide somebody
That's
in.
such a stretch.
What?
That's such a stretch.
You don't. You just said it. You just said it.
Such a stretch.
You
I'm
just
not
said
saying
it.
that he can't be replaced, but to say he's not valuable for the show.
He's not the
what
most.
the Breakfast Club
If you
did
talk
when they
about
come
risk
in
versus
and
reward, Chris,
overpowered
if you
the
talk about-
competition in New York, like
We're talking about iHeartRadio, not Crystal Housley. We're talking about iHeartRadio. What they're
we're
looking
talking
at.
the number one most syndicated
Yes.
radio
And they're
show.
going to protect their
In a
Right
reputation.
now,
urban
that
market.
They're gonna
also
protect
just
their
recently
reputation.
already lost one of theirs. That Charlemagne's already beyond morning show shit anyway.
Right,
He's
right,
already hosting
right,
his own
right.
shows.
Right.
His podcast.
He can
is
easily go
actually-
somewhere.
We
Yeah,
agreed
he
this
can
is the
bring-
end.
Right.
So
Well,
we
well, no,
agreed
we
this is
already
the
called
end.
it, right?
I
They're distancing themselves right now, right? He can be replaced, so
Yeah.
we already called it.
We called it.
The play's been called.
Left, what, a year and a half, 2 years ago,
But
and
she
they
was
still
blah.
haven't replaced
Yeah.
her.
Because-
So I don't think
Well, they
that
had
if
like
anything,
multiple
it's just going to
guests,
be a
Yeah,
flood.
they
and they
had-
had Jessica, who actually did a very
She did do a
great
good
job
job.
on there. And I
Yeah.
think people are lobbying for her to take the permanent
I mean, if
spot,
she just went
which
out
would be a
here
great
arguing
fit.
and fighting trans people
She
left
just-
and right,
she
and
can't
she
shut
would have
her
already
mouth.
been signed.
Trust me,
She would have already been signed.
Sometimes
But
she got to
instead
close
she
her
can't.
mouth too, you know.
Yeah, I agree, but I
Ego.
think,
You said that word.
but the other thing is that's how they made their brand, though. That's why Charlemagne is such a great part of
Yeah.
it.
You're
Because
right.
he's controversial and he says things that rubs people the wrong
kinda-
way.
he goes
So
against
to
the
have
grain
a
all the
female
time.
who does that,
The people
it
love it.
also creates a great dynamic for the show. And people will tune in for that. People love controversy.
Yeah.
When Howard Stern was out, the people who love Howard Stern listen for an hour. The people who hated him listen for 2 hours.
But guess
Yeah.
what? Yeah, and that's what I was going to say. The people who hate you the most, they're going to
Right.
always tune in.
That's why I don't think that anything's going to happen with Envy. I think what's going to happen is, I think that they renewed their 5-year contract. Like whenever Yee left, they all have renewed. So Envy renewed, Charlemagne renewed, and I think that this may, like, if Angela Yee leaving was the first kind of pull of a thread, I think with all this madness that's going on with Envy is probably going to be the other. And I think that when it comes time to renew, Charlemagne, who's already been doing so much more stuff than just a Breakfast Club.
Right.
I mean, DJ Envy, Angela Yee, they had what were they doing? They did some like juice stands and some seminars and some like, just,
Yeah,
you know,
I
they
think
were
she
trying to
even
do some
purchased a
stuff.
property not too long ago.
Oh,
it was
yeah,
supposed
yeah,
to be
they-
like a rehab for women who were like incarcerated or
They all got
Yeah.
something
ancillary.
on that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
everybody.
totally something
Yeah,
else,
and
yeah.
I mean, I did the same thing in my own industry, so I
Yeah.
can't.
You
Like
don't
that's what
represent
you
many
should
buyers
do.
anymore.
No, like my representation of buyers and sellers is very limited.
Now
I
you're an
mean,
investor. You're doing your thing.
I work with investors and everything, but I say all that to say, I think I don't think we're going to see a thing where, like, unless Envy is in prison for whatever reason, I don't think that we're going to see this #1 nationally syndicated show just kind of go to the wayside. I think what's actually going to happen is Charlamagne is going to say, all right, it's been nice, farewell, and it's going to be a farewell tour, and everyone's going to
Right.
Oh, they're going to end it that way. They're not
But I also
let's finish
don't know.
this with our final thought real quick. Everybody will have a final thought. I want you to predict what's going to happen to Envy, predict what's going to happen to the Breakfast Club as a show, and then you can give some final remarks. Who wants to start? Ebony?
Yeah, I'll start. I'll say that I do think that the Breakfast Club is going to be dissolved, very sadly. I think that Charlamagne will probably move on. I do think Envy, the play is already being written. He already working from home. But I do want to go ahead and say he needs to stop thinking it's Freestyle Friday. Don't talk. Just whatever they write on that paper for you to say, brother, just go ahead and say that. Don't say anything else.
Shut your
Yeah,
mouth.
just be quiet.
Bill, what do you got?
And listen,
Prediction for the Breakfast Club, prediction for DJ Envy,
I
and
got
then
it.
some final remarks.
I think I'm in tune. Not to sound redundant, but I'm in tune with Ebony. I see the show, and I'm not a fan of it. I don't watch it that often, but I have heard of it. I have vague familiarity of it. But based on everything that I've heard, I see it probably dissolving. I don't know ultimately what's going to happen to DJ Envy. And on the final note, I'll remind everybody, look, marry the house, date the rate, buy now.
By now, love it.
That part.
That part.
Chris, give me your prediction.
I think that we're just seeing the tip of the iceberg of what's going to happen in the litigation of Caesar and DJ Envy and tons of other people who are involved in this. But I also think that it's going to have a bit of a ripple effect because they're not the only ones doing it. They might be the loudest on the platforms that we follow right now.
Ringleaders.
But the fact is, there's so many people out right now selling snake oil. It just is in the real estate market, between people selling $40,000 wholesaling classes where they promise you're going to make all this money and they're going to give you the funding for it. And when you go there, what they have is people having you fill out credit card applications and withdrawing all the money from the credit cards, putting yourself in credit card debt in order to buy into these programs. How is it any different? And we can get into just the small differences between the twos. But the fact is, there's a lot of scamming going out with the invest in real estate wrapping on it. And it's tons of scams. And I think the bigger conversation that needs to come from what we're seeing is, how can investors protect themselves? How can people invest safely where it's not gambling, where it's bona fide, here's the likelihood, here's the unlikelihood, and here's what the rates are really going to look like. Rates of return, that is, not interest rates.
Right.
And I think that there needs to be a much larger conversation being had, but we're seeing crackdowns across the industry, specifically with wholesaling and with commissions is real big right now. Buyer commissions being paid. How real estate business is conducted, off-market deals. There's tons of stuff going on for people who are not in the real estate market. This kind of scandal happening in a public platform sends ricochet effects in the real estate throughout the United States. So I'm actually I'm less interested in what's going to happen to the Breakfast Club, honestly, and I'm more interested in the collateral damage that's going to happen for me as an investor on the ground because of how they were scamming people, and how is what this supposed Ponzi scheme versus a real estate investment group versus a whatever else they want to call it. What is the differences? What are the threats? What are the flags? How is it going to shift and change my ability to do business, my willingness to do business, my willingness for investors to invest in me as a person who heads investment funds and things like that? Because I think that there's a lot of gray. And I think that it's really going to take time to see how this shakes out, to see the real impact of this outside of just like some gossip scandal that's going on.
Great topic, very interesting, and some really good points. Larry?
I agree with Chris. I think that because of the high profile celebrity of DJ Envy, that it's going to expose a lot of the industry. And then I think the government is definitely going to crack down because of the high profile aspect of it. And I think there's going to be a shift, like she said. I wholeheartedly agree with her. As far as the Breakfast Club is concerned, I wouldn't be so sure about them disbanding them because it really would depend on what their numbers are and how well they're
That's
doing.
true.
Yeah.
And so if they can just replace DJ Envy, which he was an important part, but not the most sensational part.
Thank you, Larry.
And so I think they can replace him. It's going to be somebody that's high profile. I think they will eventually add Jess because she's a good fit for it, and it's on her brand. And I think as long as Charlemagne is a part of it, I think the show will still have the ratings that it needs.
Yeah.
Do you think that Charlemagne is going to stay on, knowing if you're familiar with everything that he has going on?
For the
Do
right
you
price.
think he's going to want
here's
his
why I
name
say that.
affiliated with?
Well, it's not. If they get rid of Envy, then he's absolved.
They'll rename it.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He doesn't. They won't even have to rename it.
I agree.
I think people are smarter than what we give them credit for. It's the Breakfast Club. It's not DJ Envy and them.
Yeah.
So if it was that, you know what I mean? If he was that much of a part of it, like a Wendy Williams, where it was a one-woman show, then I would say they would disband it. But it's an ensemble cast, so you can just plug in members as long as they
Plug and
kind of
play.
fit the same personality of the people you replaced. I think you're good.
Right.
But I think what's going to happen is if Charlemagne was going to leave, he could have done that already because he's already bigger than the Breakfast Club.
But contractually, they just renewed. Like,
Right. So why
2 years
renew
ago.
if things are popping so much for you? He
Yeah.
could have just said, "Hey, I got shit going on out here." I think he just wants another paycheck. He's getting
Yeah.
paid very well from that. He can still do his podcast on the side. So
Yeah.
there's no reason for him to leave.
Yeah.
And I think as long as he stays and they put someone like a Jess there and then someone who's like a moderate kind of straight man personality to the mix,
will do.
right?
It stays intact.
Right, it stays
It
intact.
stays
Any light-skinned
intact.
dude will do if you ask me.
Yeah.
You want Envy's job so
Get
bad,
on there.
John. Go ahead.
It's only number one. But look, Charlemagne.
I mean, they're doing the Ellen show without Ellen.
Yeah.
They try
I mean,
to do
you know
Wendy
what?
Williams show without
So
Wendy.
look,
It ain't the same, but
these
they
things
doing
are
it.
insane when it comes down to it. But what the point you mentioned that it's a capitalistic society and the numbers will prevail, right? Do we all agree on that? The
Yeah.
numbers will prevail. iHeartRadio will justify whatever they need to if the numbers are where they need to be,
Yeah.
right?
And right now it's doing them favors.
Yeah.
Right.
They don't want Envy arrested in their building, so
Right.
Envy's going
Right.
to stay at home and DJ from home.
Right.
For
Because
right now.
even all of this could be a boost to ratings.
Yeah.
It is.
Well,
Because
not
people
only
Oh,
are
it
that,
that
has
crazy.
boosted the
They
ratings.
probably made him make a statement about it. The one that he made, I don't think he openly came out and said, "I want to make a statement about this." I said they probably said, based on the ratings we're trying to derive, you're in the hot seat already. You might as well
I mean,
bring
he
us the
prefaced
ratings
it with saying,
too.
"I'm being told not to say anything, but I feel like I need to say something."
Exactly.
Yeah.
That means the radio station said, "This is what you do, like
Right.
skin Negro."
Yeah.
So that being the case, my prediction is that Envy's replaced. Plug and play. You can put any Ron Thomas in his spot. Right?
This is really
Team
the
light skin,
motive.
right?
Plug me,
This
okay?
whole thing, in case you thought we was here
Was
for
that-
something
right,
straight.
right,
So,
right,
so
right.
that he can join the so that he can join the Breakfast Club.
Yeah,
Right.
the Breakfast
This
Club,
is
right?
Ron's pitch. Okay, this is Ron's pitch podcast. This is what
As
this
they
is.
say in
Ron
the
Thomas
world,
pitch podcast.
everything comes full circle. Right?
Yeah.
No, but honestly, I think that the Breakfast Club will dissolve as an entity. Charlemagne will be left. My prediction is that they will rename the show and that Envy will go on and do his villain role. You know how people go in and they start off one way, something bad happens, i.e. Chris Brown, they go into their villain role and they do even better. I predict that happens for him.
But I don't know if
Because-
it's a villain role. I think it's just people like comebacks.
Well,
People
And
do
if
love a
and
good
the
I love a
comeback.
villain
and
too,
if
though.
Rod Blavojevic could come back from what he dealt with.
No, but I think Envy's
think
gonna.
everybody
I think he's
can.
gonna lean into the villain role, right? If he's
No,
smart,
he's
if
too
he,
sensitive.
No, listen. If he's smart, he leans into it because controversy sells, and I think he understands that. I think he gets that. That's why you see him dancing on the internet during this process because I think he's leaning into it, and I think he's been told by a publicist to lean into it, right? If you ask me, this is just my prediction. You guys,
We know controversy. Look at Jada.
Right? So
But look
that's
at the camera and tell Radio 1.
listen, Kathy Hughes, right? I've already been on your platform. Every Saturday at 10 a.m. I do a radio show. We won't even go into that plug, but look me up. I do a hell of a job.
He needs his own breakfast club.
I'm the
Okay?
next.
Right.
We're the next. But no, the reason I drink, this is our first episode. We're wrapping up. We appreciate your time being here. It's been amazingly fun. If you ask me, I've had a ball sitting here, going through the banter with you guys, and everybody's, opinion and their perspective is truly important. So to me, this has been a total win. Can't wait for you to check out part 2. We're going to do a little bit more advertising for that. Again, we've got comedian Larry Lancaster. You can catch him on the IG. We've got Bill Den at All Financial Services. That's at All Financial Services on all social media.
Thank you, Ron.
Ely.
Yeah, Ely Homes.
Ely Homes on Instagram. House Keys with Housley. Chrisita starts with a K on IG. And I'm your captain, as you know, running the show, leading the ship. Captain.Mortgage. Larry, take us home.
I just wanted to say that it was a pleasure sitting with you guys. I learned so much information just from talking with you.
That's awesome.
And so I think that the viewing public really got a lot of information that they could use, because it's a lot of things. Like, you guys are professionals. This is your life's work. But for me, I just learned so much just picking your brains.
Yeah.
And I wanted to do another hour just asking you guys questions. I want to buy another
don't
house.
worry.
How do I
Coming
do
back.
that? How
They're
do
coming back.
Stay tuned.
So I just appreciate the expertise, and you guys made a subject that's not necessarily exciting, and you made it entertaining.
Yeah.
So that's not easy to do.
And let me just tell you about relationships, ladies and gentlemen, real quick before we fade out, okay? Relationships are the new currency. The things that you
Absolutely.
do, the reputation that you have, the way that you present yourself, the aura that you carry, everything matters, because you never know who's watching. These professionals that you see before you, these individuals that I call my friends, they showed up because I made a phone call based on our relationship. And I want you to know that that's the new currency. Take that with you as we conclude. Anybody got anything else to say as we exit? The floor is yours.
Throwback Saturdays, WEAA 88.9. Every Saturday, 10 a.m. to 12 noon. It's a great show. We play the music that you guys grew up on, and we talk about topics and subjects that impact the community. So I'm very proud of it.
Say that one more time, Larry.
Throwback Saturdays with Larry Lancaster and Mike Nice, WEAA 88.9, or you can go to weaa.org and stream it. And it comes on every Saturday, 10 a.m. to 12 noon.
Thank you for saying stream it, because other than the car, what the hell a radio station looks like.
Right.
Yeah. No,
And that's why I program the station the way I do, because I know people don't really listen to radio anymore. So I try to program it with that in mind.
Ladies and gentlemen, tap in. Larry Lancaster's involved. Tap in.
You heard it from Double L.
Anybody else to take us home?
I would
got
just say, do your due diligence. I think
That's the moral to
that
the
is
story, right?
very important.
That's the moral to the story.
Real
kinda
estate is
sums
a
it up.
good investment because it takes time. Okay,
It does.
if it sounds too good to be true, I guarantee you it is too good to be true. There is no substitute for hard work and perseverance. Number one, if you see anybody get rich quick, that's luck. That's an anomaly. That's an individual. That's a one-off. It ain't happening. I can tell you from the people that I've been around, the proof is in your work, your effort, and the passion that you put into what you do. So if they tell you you're about to make 30-35% return, just give me that money. You're never going to see it.
Or run the other way, right? Run the other way, man.
And we're out, baby.
We're out. It's a wrap.
That's what's up.